Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado, and this is my buddy Puccini. We're having a filming day today, so he's joined me a couple of times and then he goes off and sleeps in his box. Today I have for you my second fall card using that ribbon technique I used last time with the pumpkins. And this is just a stunningly beautiful card. And the technique is very much the same. The materials are a little bit different. And I think you're going to like it. So let's just get started. Here is my card. And this is what it looks like on the outside. And then this is what I've done with it on the inside. And what we need to make this card is the base I've used is pumpkin pie. No, it's not. Pecan pie. And this pecan pie piece is 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored and folded at 4 1/4. Then I have 2 pieces of peach pie, and these are 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have another piece of pecan pie that is, I'm going to show you, I've already cut out my piece, but my piece is 3 inches by 4 inches. And then I used a stitched oval die that I just have in my stash to cut out this oval. And this oval measures about 3.5 by 2.5, or roughly thereabouts. So any oval that you have, if you have old Stampin' Up! Ovals, there's one that's just a slight bit smaller, and that's this one, but it doesn't have any of the stitch detail. And I think that's the only thing I changed on this one, is to use the stitch detail. Okay, so we need this piece then, and then for the inside, I have this strip and this strip, and that is bronze foil, not bronze, copper foil, and I've used our Bough punch to cut out some little flowers and leaves here for the inside and the outside out of the copper. And then the copper here, what I did was I ran that through the old subtles folder, and any very small embossing folder detail will do, although the subtles I think is absolutely gorgeous. And then I just cut 1/4 inch strips to add a little bit of additional texture to our card here. Now you could make that piece quite a bit bigger and change the character of this. If you did that in 3/4 inch, it'd have a really nice impact, because basically what I have are these little strips here. In fact, this one's a 1/4 inch, and this one looks like it's 3/8 inch. But you can see if you put the two of those together, that would make quite an interesting impact, if you will, on this card by adding some additional texture. Lots of things you can do with this. You can put a second string along this side, and I used one of those strips and some string and some of the flowers on the inside. So let's just get started putting this together. I have my card base here, and I'm just going to give it a little, I don't know where my bone folder is all of a sudden, and so I'm just going to give this an additional burnish here along the edge. And then I ran my top layer through the dynamic layered leaves embossing folder. And this is one that's a little bit older, but any leafy die I think will work with this quite well. Embossing folder. So I'm just going to go ahead, once I put my embellishments on there, to adhere that to the front. This is the ribbon I have for this particular card, and it's more like this one with a big one of these flowers on it. So, like in the pumpkin card, what we're going to do is take advantage of these wire ribbon sides to fit this on our card. So I know mostly I want this flower showing down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and fold that wire up about there, and I'm putting this ribbon to the right side of the card. Now, up here at the top, I'm just going to go ahead and fold this over here. So we have some of those pretty little flowers there. And let's see how we do here. So I'm going to pull that ribbon a little bit, fold that over here and here, and I'm going to use a little piece of Scotch tape to hold that into place. Just like that. Okay, and then making sure that this is straight on here and moving those wires around just a little bit. I can see that I want that one just about like that. So I'm going to move this over just a hair, pull this tight, and put another little piece of tape on this ribbon to secure it on the back of the card. So there we go, adhered to the back. And there we go, we've got our ribbon piece put on the card. Isn't that just pretty? It's just gorgeous. Now I have this piece of sort of a copper looking, reddish copper piece of twine, and I want to secure this along this edge. And the way I did that, I don't know about you, but I save all of the glue dots that are extra from the paper pumpkins. And you'll notice that when you do that, you get all different sizes. See, this one is very small, and this one is pretty large. So I'm going to use the largest ones I have here and take those glue dots off, and I'm going to set them underneath the ribbon on this side to help hold that ribbon in place. And I'm going to tuck it under the ribbon a bit and then leave a good chunk of it hanging outside the ribbon to help hold our twine in place. So once I get that down, I'm going to release the release paper, and I'm going to put a piece of that twine right on the edge of that glue dot. Now we're going to take another one, and we're going to come down just a little bit here and do that same thing. Secure that glue dot in place, and then remove the release paper and both secure the ribbon and the twine along that edge. And we'll just keep doing that, and I'll speed this part up. Okay, as you can see, we got a visitor in the middle here. And I'm going to, now that I have that twine secured all along that edge of the ribbon, I'm going to wind it up around the back and then add some tape to hold it in place. Next, we're going to need to add our strip along here. That is that copper that's been run through the Subtles embossing folder. And I'm going to have to evict my buddy here so you can actually see what it is I'm doing. I have my strip that I am just going to add a little bit of wet glue. Actually, what I'm going to do is put a few more of those glue dots on this side to help secure that ribbon in place. find that when I put the glue dot under a piece of something like, say, a pattern vellum or like this ribbon, where it's already got a pattern, you just don't see it. Now I'm going to add my strip here. So I'm going to put some glue just along the edge of this strip. Oops, I didn't mean to leave that big old drop on there. And I'm going to put this in place right along this edge. And there we go. Hold that in place for just a second to let the glue get its grip. And there is our ribbon in place. And against that peach pie, I think it is just so pretty. And I think that glue is going to hold that strip. When in doubt, you know, add a dot more or so. Okay, so there we go. There's our piece that's ready to go on the front of the card. So I will be adding some wet glue on the back here. And because this is heavily patterned, again, because of the embossing folder, I'm going to add a little extra glue to that. And then we'll take this and put it in place on the front of my card with a similar margin all the way across. And there we have the front of the card nearly done. Now I have my stitched piece and my early espresso ink, and I have my autumn wishes stamp, which I'm going to put at an angle across this oval. Like that. And to that I'm going to add some dimensionals. Now I'll add that to the front of my card. I think that's so pretty. And then I used that bow punch to cut out all kinds of little copper leaves and flowers. And so I cut them down a little bit because they're kind of a bit much. And added some a little dab of glue onto one set, and I put it in place right up here on the card. Then I took another one and I cut it, oh, maybe one leaf longer. And so I have added this component here, the little flowers, also right in here. And I think sticking them up so that they show kind of like this, I can put them behind this flower and anchor it down on that stem. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some glue on the leaves. And again, just a dab, just enough to hold it. And then I'm going to take these flowers and put them right down here so that they stick up all over this leaf here, and in fact are in front of that little piece there. And I'm going to have to take a little piece of glue off of there, and I can give you a tip about that. And put these in place right down here at the bottom of our oval. Now then, I used those same embellishments that we did on the pumpkin card, and I did put a little one of these orangey sequins down here at the bottom of the flowers and leaves on the front here. And if you wipe away any glue with a baby wipe and a tiny bit of water, I think you'll find that most of it comes off. If you have a rather stubborn piece, I have found that using a little bit of vegetable oil, and I mean a little bit, you just dip it into the vegetable oil and then draw it across your foil, and it removes most glue pretty easily. You have to be careful. This is water, so that's going to dry, but you want to do that before you put it on the card if you're going to use the vegetable oil, because it'll stain your card if you do it that way. This will dry in a little bit. Okay, so here we go. We've got that all done. Now we have to just do the inside of the card. So I have my other piece of this beautiful color, this peach pie, and I should have another strip here of that embossed piece of copper, which doesn't look to be very straight to me. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm going to trim sort of across and see if I can't straighten that up. It's a little wider at one end than the other. And there, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and use my glue again to glue along the inside of the strip here and put that in place right down here towards the bottom of the card. And if I've cut that right, I can just put that in place and wiggle it around so that it covers both cut ends of that piece of card. Then I should have another piece of that twine. Yeah, I have no idea where it went. It's probably on the floor when I was moving Puccini. But this is going to go right across here. We're going to need to secure that in place, and I'm going to try and do that with this glue. I'm going to put just the tiniest bead of glue right underneath this foil, all the way across here, and just little tiny dots. And then pull this cord across there with tails to tuck on the other side, and see if I can get that to stay in place with my wet glue. It looks like it might work. That is great. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece of twine and secure it on the back like I've done before with some small pieces of Scotch tape. So I'm going to wind this around and put some Scotch tape on it to hold it in place on the back of my card on both ends. I think that works. Okay. Now I'm going to get back into my little package of leaves, and I'm going to cut this leaf a little bit longer. There we go. And I'm going to put some glue on the back of this leaf, and again, just a little dot on each of the leaves just to give it enough to hold on. And then I'm going to put it in place so that I can find a spot to maybe tuck it underneath or into that piece of twine. There we go. Just like that. And then put that into place here. And again, I'll need to get some glue off that copper foil. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the flowers by putting a dot of glue on the back, and then a dot at the bottom of the flowers and a couple little pieces on the stem, and get that in a position where I can just add it right down here at that base. And there we go. There's the decoration for the inside of my card. And to that, we might just add one of these small copper pieces. They've got Puccini hair on them, so they're kind of stuck together. So I'm going to put one of those in place right down here at the base of my flowers and leaves, and there we go. All right, so now this is ready to go on the inside of our card. I'll open this up and put some glue on the back of this panel. And put that into place on the inside of the card. And there you have it. There is my second fall ribbon card. Aren't they pretty? I just think they're so attractive and really different. You're just not going to see this coming and going, particularly if you buy a couple of packages of ribbon, and you could make the ribbon easily go across this way and make a card with a sentiment up here, put the ribbon up here, the sentiment down below. You could cut this off and show the inside of the card. There's a lot of things you can do with this, and I think it's pretty attractive. So here are my two versions. Oops, let me see. Was that the one? Well, it's one of them. So there's my second. This is the one we made today. And this one, oh, it looks like I did put a few little sequins around on this, so I will do that on here. And there we go. There's our finished card. Thank you again so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, well, I'd love to be your demonstrator. We have the Christmas catalog open and available to order from now, and so there's little bits going on, and then in November we'll start the repackaging of the dies and the stamp sets, and lots on the horizon. So thanks again for stopping by, and I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye.